Hello there. Welcome back to Zimsec O-Level Business Studies. In this video, we want to look at communication. So we are going to start try by explaining what is communication, and then after that, we are just going to look at two typical examination questions that we have concerning communication. So we are going to start by defining what exactly is communication. So you would see that communication is a process. So it's a process that involves two parties. The two parties that are involved are in communication as a process. We have got the sender, and also we have the receiver. So you would see that these are the parties that are involved in communication. So we have the sender sending a message to the receiver. So we have got the message that is sent. So basically, in simple terms, we can just define communication as that there is a sender and a receiver, and the sender sends the message out to the receiver. And when the receiver receives the message, the receiver should send back the feedback. So basically, that now becomes a complete communication process. So this one becomes feedback, which is now coming from the receiver to the sender. So for communication to be successful, the sender should receive the feedback to say the communication was successful. So what the sender expected when sending the message, when it comes back as feedback, we say communication is successful. But if the receiver sends the feedback which is wrong to the sender, it means the communication process was not as successful. So basically, that's this in simple terms. That's how we can simply define what is a communication having two parties. So basically, we can try again to further on explain in terms of communication. Say communication is a transmission of information from sender to the receiver. So you see that this is a process by which information is exchanged between individuals through a common system. Obviously, the common system is now the channel that is being used maybe to convey the message to the receiver. Then you would see that also communication is the sending and receiving of information. It can be done through different channels. We can use one-on-one, or it might be between groups of people. The sender might be sending the information to a group of people. So basically, that's what we have in terms of explanations on communication. So having that now, we go to our question and try to see what question do we have according to this video. So the first question that we have says illustrate the communication model. Obviously, it's a graphical illustration that is needed there, and we have the graphical presentation in terms of the communication process, whereby we are having the sender or the encoder, and then which obviously the sender is sending the message, and the message has to be sent through an appropriate channel. So depending on the type of message that is being sent, we have to choose an appropriate channel. So you'll see that now in terms of channel, the channel that is being used, because we are having channel coming in, the channel that is being used. So the explanation in terms of the channel of communication is that a channel of communication is a system or a method used for communicating with other people. So you see that examples of channels of communication, we've got face-to-face, we've got videos can also be a channel of communication. We've got calls in the form of telephone calls. We have got emails, which are the electronic mails. So depending on the method that is being used, uh, and that is sense depending on the situation. So that's what we have. Then when the message is being conveyed, we see that there is an issue of encoding. So obviously, we are saying there is encoding that is in between. That is when encoding, we can just try to, we are saying we have encoding, which means the sender has to encode the message. So we need to understand again, since we are saying here the sender is the encoder, so which means that the sender has to encode the message. So what is encoding again can be also necessary for you to know. Encoding basically is to convert into a particular form. So in this case, what is being converted is the message. Remember, the sender is the one who is sending the message. So the sender converts the message into a particular form. So it is converted into a sequence of characters, or we rather call them codes, into codes. And then when the message has been transformed from being a message into into a system which is now the encoded format. So we are saying when this message is being converted, it goes to the it is converted into encoded format. So we can just maybe try to write here encoded format. So we are saying the message goes, when it's converted, it goes to being encoded format, and it's transmitted to the receiver. And when the receiver is receiving the message, the receiver has also to decode. Remember, the receiver is the decoder also. It has also to decode. So decoding now is the encoded format that is arriving at the receiver is now being converted back into a sequence of characters. That is now it is now a message. So when it becomes a message, when it has been when it has been decoded, that's when now the receiver sends back the feedback. So this other end we are having the feedback going back to the sender. So when the feedback reaches the sender, that's when the communication process becomes complete. So basically, that's what we have in terms of the communication process. So basically, in simple terms, we are seeing that we have got three main points that we have there, whereby we are having a sender, which is the encoder, and then we are having the receiver being the decoder, and then we have the feedback being sent back to the sender. So when the feedback arrives in the sender, it has to arrive there with the conveying the message the message that the sender is expecting. So when the feedback comes back as wrong feedback, obviously the communication process is not successful. Remember, it means during the process there were barriers to communication that were there that made the communication process not to be successful. So we are going to talk about barriers at communication again on the second question that we are going to look at. So going to our next question that we are going to look at according to this video, we have set any three barriers to effective communication that are in line with the following elements of communication. This question has got 9 marks. So we are going to see that we have got elements of communication that we have there. We have got receiver, we have got sender, we have got channel. So what barriers of communication are associated with these elements? So basically also, we need to understand what is the barriers. So a barrier to communication is any disturbance that is along the communication process. So it might be a disturbance that is affecting the sender, a disturbance that is affecting the receiver, the disturbance that is affecting even the feedback. So basically, that's a barrier to communication. So we can define it as we can define them as these are things that get in the way of a message being received, which may be physical, or they may come in the form of being emotional. So anything that prevents or disables communicators to deliver the right message is a barrier. And anything that also is going to disturb the receiver from decoding the message in a right way becomes a barrier. So what barriers are associated with the receiver? We have got the attitude of the sender. So if the sender has got a bad attitude, obviously this is going to affect. This is obviously will not understand. So we have got noise also being a barrier. Noise. Remember, when there's noise, the receiver is not going. When there's noise, the receiver is not going to understand what is being said. So it becomes a barrier. It disturbs the communication process. Even the poor listening skills on the part of the receiver. The receiver is not listening appropriately. So is not listening attentively. It becomes a barrier. So anything that is making the communication process not being successful becomes a barrier to communication. So these are the examples examples of barriers that can be under a receiver. So going to the sender. The language that is being used by the sender might be a barrier. For example, the person is a Ndebele, but the person that is listening is a Shona. So when we have such a scenario, it means it becomes a barrier. It means the Shona person is not going to understand what is being said. So it becomes a barrier. We have got the jargon not appropriate for the audience. You are speaking to maybe to small children, but the jargon that you are using jargon that can be understood by old people. So it becomes also a barrier. Then we also have excessive hand movements. We are trying to explain. You are trying to use body language so that your message that you are conveying is being understood by the receiver. But in the process, you are excessively doing it. It becomes also a barrier. The receiver obviously is going to be concentrated on your movements of the body. If they are hands, the excessive hand movements, it means the excessive hand movements are part is the one that is going to attract the receiver, and the receiver won't understand the message. So it becomes also a barrier. So this is the second part that we have of the sender. And then lastly, about the channel, we have described what is a channel, and we've given examples of channels. So what barriers can be associated with that? We have got different perceptions can also come as barrier. We've got lack of proper resources. If you do not have the proper resources, it can also be a barrier. For example, you are using an email as a channel, electronic mails as a channel of communicating, but obviously maybe you don't have the networks for you to receive that message through email. So obviously that becomes a barrier. So we also have information filtering also as a barrier. So information filtering basically this is a system that removes redundant or unwanted information from the information stream. So when we have got a system that is removing unwanted information along the stream, it means the information is not going to reach complete. Some of the information is going to be filtered out. So that becomes also a barrier because the complete message that wanted to be conveyed won't arrive is what the sender is expecting it to arrive. So basically, that's the scenario that we have. So that this becomes the last part that we have according to this video. Hopefully, the video was helpful. And please, let's not forget to subscribe and share to our channel. Let's not forget to share the link to all our colleagues who are doing Zimsec O-level business studies. And let's take note, more videos are going to be uploaded on this channel. So let's get notified, let's subscribe, let's turn on the notification button so that when there are new uploads, we get notified. And as we approach exams, more typical examination questions will be uploaded on this channel. So let's stay tuned. As for this video, I'm signing out. Let's meet again in the next video.